new technology up to the time. We are going to be working today on a Pentagon based pyramid. We're also going to be doing the front elevation to this pyramid, the side elevation, the plan view, and the true shape. After we've done the true shape, we'll do the auxiliary projection too. But you will see after the true shape how easy it is to generate the auxiliary projection. So the first thing we need to know is what are the size of our pyramid, our Pentagon based pyramid, and each side is going to be 30 because this is a regular pentagon, so that means all the sides are going to be the same. So let's get to that. Now we are here in AutoCAD. What I like to do to start off this process is to draw a line first. Make sure that your ortho is on. If it's not on, press F8, and if you want to draw a line, hit L. You see the line will come up there, and you just enter it and you just draw a line. It doesn't have to be any length, just random vertical line. And then what I'm going to do is offset this line 30 millimeters. So I'm going to hit O for offset, enter, punch in the distance that I want, 30 millimeters, because this distance is the distance of my pentagon. Each side is 30 millimeters, so I'm using that as a reference line. I'm going to come here now to the pentagon icon, and they ask me number of sides. So it's in polygon, but a polygon and pentagon are similar. All are called polygons. All these shapes, either 5-sided shapes, 6-sided, or 7-sided shapes, all come under the polygon family, but the pentagon is a specific name for a 5-sided shape. So you hear me use pentagon and polygon in between. Alright, so I now come to edge, E for edge, and I'm going to specify the first edge, and then I just voila, pull to right here, which is my boundary, and that guarantees me that my pentagon is 30 millimeters diameter. How am I going to verify this? I'm going to pull up my tape measure by pressing DI, short for distance, and I'm just going to measure from there to there, and I can see down here it's telling me where it has delta X is 30. That means it's 30 millimeters. So I'm going to just get rid of these two reference lines, and that's my shape there. I'm going to move it, and I like to move things probably to just a little bit up. Cool. So that's what we have so far. We have the pentagon, huh? And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line up from the pentagon, 10 at the tip of the pentagon, 10 millimeters up. And then I'm just going to draw a line across, left and right. These are what I would call my frame lines, because I'm getting ready to place my second join there. So let's look and see what the second join is. And that line that I've just placed in is my X and my Y line. I'm going to label that shortly, but I'm just going to construct this join here. And this join is called our front elevation. So this join is constructed by creating a baseline which needs to be offset 10 millimeters from our X and Y line. So what I'm trying to do is keep an even distance between my X and Y line and my joins. So my X and Y line comes as a border. Right, so we are going to create the elevation now, and we're going to be on our construction layer, which I've created a series of layers that we're going to be using throughout this drawing. And what we need to do is we need to work with our plan and project our lines upward, and these lines are going to come from the plan drawing. Now, saying that this is our X and Y line that I'm on, that I've highlighted here, touch, I'm now going to create our baseline, which I'm going to offset 10 millimeters from the X and Y line. So that is my baseline here at this point. And now looking back at the drawing, I can see here the height of all of this is 60 millimeters. So I'm just going to project 60 millimeters up to where point O is, and then I'm also going to project 20 millimeters after, because this would then indicate where we are going to cut this, because all this is truncated. So we need to cut this at a 20 millimeter point at an angle of 30 degrees. So let's do that now. first, offset 60 millimeters, hit O for offset, type in 60, enter, and I've gone up there. I'm going to use this line, project it up to that point. I'm actually going to change this line here to something called center line so that we can identify the center. So I'm going to come over on my center there, and I have everything set up. That is my center line, so I know that's where my center is. Now these are the corners of this drawing here, but what I want to do is I want to trim these lines because I no longer need these lines. Some people will pull back these lines down to there, or you can just trim. TR, short for trim. Then you hit enter. You select the lines we don't want, and we want to select our reference cutting point, which is our baseline. Then I hit enter, and I'm going to remove the unwanted lines. Right, and that's how we trim. Now at this point, I'm going to hit L for line and project from these corners up to the apex, or up to point O. That is given in the book. Also, I'm going to trim the baseline because I do not need my baseline all the way out here. So I'm going to use this as my cut point, that as my cut point, touch my baseline, hit enter, remove, remove. That's it. So I don't need this top line there. So what I do need from this base now is to offset 20 millimeters up. And that's my 20 millimeters, and at this point here, this corner here where these two lines meet, right here around here, I'm going to create a 30 degrees line. So hit L, and I just pull out my line, and some people hit tab and then punch in 30 degrees, and they're able to get a 30-degree line. I don't have my settings set up like that, it's quite. So I'm just going to pull my line out, and I'm going to type in the less than sign and then touch 30 degrees, and that gives me my 30 degrees. So on some of your PCs, you can actually hit L for line, and then while you're drawing the line, you can then hit tab. So you just project a line at any distance you think is going to be long enough. Then you can always go back and trim, hit tab, and then punch in 30, and then hit enter, and that's how you get degrees. But on mine, I actually have to use the less than sign. You guys should be familiar with the greater than and the less than sign, and that is linked with the comma and the full stop. So look on your keyboard carefully next to the M, to the right of M, and that is where you would find the greater than, sorry, the less than sign. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim this line here. Yes, I've trimmed that, and also I'm going to remove my reference line that I no longer need. This was just to indicate where I'm going to create my 30-degree cut. So now I've created one elevation so far, but I need to indicate that these lines are cut at this point here. This is my cut point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim. So I'm going to trim these lines. Just trim. And then I'm going to create some new lines under a layer called hidden. Hidden layer just indicates that these things, oh there, let me just keep one of these points right here because I need to reference where these will be going. Right? So now I can remove the trim lines. Cool. So I've trimmed the lines, but I still know where the apex is. So I'm going to go over to my hidden layer and hit L for line, and I'm going to draw some dashed lines up to the apex from these points that I've trimmed. So what this does is it shows that in reality these lines will go all the way up to the apex, but because it has been cut at this angle here, we want to show that in reality, sorry, before, this is how the shape will look, but right now presently the shape has a cut. So this is all I'm trying to indicate with this drawing, that the shape has been cut, and this is the outstanding lines here, and then these are right now the hidden lines to show what the shape used to be in its entirety. Okay, I was just playing around with a little bit with the properties there to see if we can. Alright, I think my hidden lines look good, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off of my hidden layer, back onto my construction layer. In order for us to find the center, actually we need to create the second drawing, which is over here, and project lines down, and then come through an information line which is at 45 degrees, similarly to what we have here. We need to create an information line and project all the lines through the information line, and you'll be able to locate the center line. So let's do that now. Like what we did before, I'm going to offset my distance from my furthest point 10 millimeters to create my frame line. And this is what I mean by my frame line. This frames the drawings, right? This gives us an idea that we have finished one drawing and that these drawings are within a frame. So from this frame line now, I'm going to create a 45 degree line from the center here, and I'm going to create that in a downward. So what we can do is, again, I have to use tab 45 degrees, and my 45 degrees is going in that direction. I don't want it in that direction. I want it to be below, to be on the side where the plan is, sorry, next to the plan, to the right of the plan. So what I'm going to do is mirror, MI, look at the command there that comes with something called mirror. Then we select the line we want, and I'm going to mirror. I'm going to be mirroring this on a horizontal. I'm going to be using the horizontal line as my mirror line. So this is what I mean. You can just pull the line to some point here, and then it asks me, do I want to erase the source? And I'm going to say yes, erase the source. So I've erased my source object. So now I get the line that I want exactly here. Now what do we do at this point? At this point I'm going to project. Okay, so now that we have this information line, what are we going to do with it? I'm going to project all my lines from the plan, meaning from these points around the plan here. And I'm just going to project them through. It makes no sense projecting this point here because this point shares the same as the opposite point, similarly to this baseline. Okay, now before we go up, I'm going to start labeling what's happening around, identifying some points on my plan, so that while I'm talking to you guys can actually see where I'm locating or where I'm pointing out. Mtext is what I use, and I just create a little box. And I'm going to call this first point here A, and I'm going to use capital A, and I think that looks good. I'm going to center it, put it in the middle, and close, right? So now I'm going to just bring this closer to the action. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to have several A's around here for the time being until I then change them. So I'm going to go in a clockwise direction. So let's start with A at the top and then just come down. So this one would be B, this would be C, this would be D, this would be E. Alright, so that's A, B, C, D, E. Perfect. Let me transfer these letters to the front elevation. So I'm going to copy my series A's again, and then I'm going to change them. Alright, so apparently A is not going to be seen because the side with A is going to be in the back. So what's going to be seen on this elevation is really D, C, B, and E. So this corner is going to be E. This is going to be D. Right here, D. This one is going to be C. As you can see, C is down here, and our construction line goes up to this point. So this letter changes to C, and this one over here changes to B. And yeah, so A isn't seen, so I'm actually going to remove A because A is going to be in the background or the opposite side of the drawing, not seen at this point in time. So now let's get back to creating this elevation, which is the side elevation here. So we're going to do that. I'm going to trim these lines here. Again, to trim you need two things. You need the line that you're going to trim, and you need the line that you want to use as your cutoff point. I'm just going to switch back over from my text layer to my construction layer because I'm drawing again construction line. Just projecting these lines up, and then what I need to do is I need to transfer the baseline from this point here, and I'm just going to project a line to the right to transfer my baseline. Or I could have come at my X and Y line and created offset that 10 millimeters up. I thought it was easier to just drag my base from here. Now I'm just going to grab one of my handles and bring it to this first end point, and I'm going to grab this other handle and bring it to this last end point here. Usually I trim, but I just wanted to show some diversity without always using the trim tool. Like, I'm not going to trim these lines, I'm just going to grab the handles and stretch them down to this point. Grab the handles, stretch them down to that point. Okay, well this didn't get stretched down properly. You can always zoom in, and if you have a 3-button mouse, you can roll the middle button to zoom in and out, and bring it down to my end point. At that point, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Grab the handle and bring it down to where it says end point. Good. So what I need to do is I need to reference where the top of all this is going to be, and this is going to be my top right here. Right. And as usual, I need to. Okay, so what did I transfer up from my plan? I've transferred the C line, I've transferred the B line, and I've transferred the A. So I'm going to be seeing A, I'm going to be seeing B, and I'm going to be seeing C. So what I can do is I can just actually copy these this lettering. So let me mark C to where C is going to be, and I'm just going to copy all of my C's and then just change them respectively. So this is my C line here. I'm just going to touch so that you can see C starts from here, comes through the information line, and it's projected upward to this point, and then this is B. So I'm just going to change this lettering and change that to B, and then this one is going to be A. Change that here, and then that's it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to also create points at these cuts. So I'm going to call this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to copy a random letter, so just copy D, and I'm just going to put D, 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 D. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this to 1, change this to 2, change this to 3. The reason why I'm using numbers here is that I don't want to confuse you guys with the lettering. So just keep lettering for the base and just use numbers for the cuts. Right? Okay. So from these numbers, I'm now going to project these to the right so as to help me create my elevation. So I've projected line 1, projected line 2, projected line 3, and I've projected line 4. What you realize is that I don't project them at any point. I just try to get them over there, then I'll trim them a lot of people waste time trying to project them at a certain length. I don't get involved in that. I just project things and then I just trim as I go along. I find that it's a faster way to work. Okay, so I'm going to select my center line because here I know this is my center. Okay, I want to. So I've dead on my center and I'm going to project my center over here. This is very important because you need your center when you're creating these drawings. So let's look back at the drawing and get some clues. Okay. So I need to locate where this all ends. Where does this actually come into play? You know, where do we send this up? If I knew my center down here, I would have been able to, you know, to work. Set AB. So I'm actually bisecting, like if I were using a compass, open it to more than half, and then I'm just going to copy this circle, copy it, and there over to B. Yep, and then I just come through the centers. So it's there, and then I'm going to extend that. EX is to extend, which is similar to trim. You need 2 points. You need the point which you're referencing to extend, and then the line that you want to extend. So click now, and then hit enter, and look what happens. This goes like that. Oh, something interesting happens. These lines create an X, but they don't create an X on the You see what happened. I'm just going to move this across. I don't think I bisected that properly. Thank God for the technology that we have today. You don't really have to bisect these lines to find the center because AutoCAD gives you a nice little tool. I'm just going to open my object snap menu and see the tool here, and it's called center. Right, so when you're in the center of something, it will also, once you have this tick, an icon will come up telling the center. But more importantly, this one here that I'm going to turn off and turn back on, called midpoint. This allows me to find the midpoint of any line that I've drawn. So once I've drawn a line, I can just find the midpoint by just hovering over it, and you will see a triangle, and then next to the triangle is a note saying midpoint. So if you use these as little clues, you're able to, you know, find the midpoint. But I've actually just bisected so that people that are now getting accustomed to AutoCAD, if they like the old way of bisecting by grabbing two circles and see where they intersect at the top and bottom and then draw a line, you can go that method. But I would suggest to use the midpoint, which the tool has offered you. It saves a lot of time. So now I know this is my midpoint. What I'm going to do is place a letter there and call it O. So I'm going to grab this E, just bring it here, and just change it from E to O. And, okay, E to O. And then to close this thing, you can also just, once you're finished editing your text, you can close text editor, or you can just click out into the open, and it would all do the same thing. So now that is my midpoint there. It's looking nice and good. And just attach this to there. Yeah, looking nice and sharp, coming through the midpoint. So what I'm going to do is connect everything to my midpoint so that you're able to see how this plays out, how this looks. Okay, so then I'm going to erase these points that I don't need. So I don't need this line going all the way from C going through A and E. I don't need that line. So what I can do is fill it to this line here, and it all works out. Anything else that I don't need? Oh yeah, I don't need these lines here anymore. These construction lines. These have served their purpose, so I can remove those. And yeah, So we can see how this pentagon now looks. This is the pentagon here, and this is the center point of our pentagon. So now I've established my center point. What I can do is I can transfer this horizontal line, copy it, grab it by this midpoint here, and place it here on endpoint. Right? So what that means is that this center line will come through my information line. I always call this diagonal line my information line. Comes through the information line, and then when it gets here and it touches the information line 90 degrees up all the way. Yes, I'm drawing in my dimension there, so I'm just going to transfer back over to my center line. And now if you've drawn something like this is a perfect example for me to show you guys another tool. If you've drawn on your dimension layer and you want to transfer this now to your center layer, you got two options. You can either match properties, and you match the property of and then you take the layer that you kind of like, say it as like a paint bucket. So you just open your paint bucket and you want to match this layer or that line to another line or another layer or both. So the layer that you want to match this green line to, you just select it like here and just click, and that's how you match properties. Or let me just Control Z and show you another method. You can just touch this layer, and everything on this layer shows up, and you just pull down your layers and place it where you want it. And I want this on center line, so I just kind of like open my layer drawer, that's what I call it, and I just place it into the drawer that I want, which is center line, and it automatically changes. So that's one way you can deal with that issue. If you're drawing on one layer and then you have to then transfer to other layers as time goes by. So right here we don't need this line back here, so I can trim or I can fillet. I probably use fillet, and that means I create a link between these two lines I'm going to select. So this is the first line, this is the second line. And then I create my 90-degree angle there, nothing too hard because I filleted that. So now I am going to draw a line from A to the apex, B to the apex, and from C to my apex. And my apex is called point O. So first thing, before I label that point O, I'm just going to transfer these three lines to my construction layer. Right? Everything is on the construction layer. Now I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning up here. I don't need these lines past this line C, so I'm just going to trim. I'm going to grab this whole section here, and then I'm just going to trim. You can trim the center line because the center line doesn't have to go that far. I'll just trim it. Trim this one up there too. Trim that one there too. And leave those frame lines projected. Now I don't need this line, this reference line, so I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to transfer this point O, which is the apex of our pyramid. I'm going to transfer O to this drawing and then O to the other drawing. So I've transferred O from the plan up to the front elevation, and then I've transferred O over to the side elevation. Right. So we have some consistency here. We have center lines on all our drawings. So we know where our centers are, and everything is lined back up perfectly. Give thanks for that. And now what are we going to do now? We need to create this cut shape. So the cut first appeared on our front elevation at points 1, 2, 3, and 4. What we need to do with these points now is we need to transfer these down using our construction lines. I'm just going to transfer them down. Hit L for line, and from each point I'm going to project these lines down through the plan. We don't stop when they touch the plan, just sending through the plan. So to save time, I'm just going to copy. CO, copy, and I'm going to copy from points 4. Let's stick one at 3, stick one at 2, and stick one at 1. So we have a series of lines that go down here, and they're touching somewhere down here on the plan. So let's go back to the image. This is what we're trying to create, this shape here that we are going to see on the plan when we look down. Don't forget that this drawing has been truncated, so that means then the plan will no longer go up to a point. So essentially what we are doing is we are looking at the plan and we are seeing the points where it has been cut, and we are trying to form that cut mark, or those cut lines on plan that have been formed in section. So they have been, sorry, not section, in elevation. So they have been formed here in elevation. Now we need to try to locate them here on our plan. Alright, so the first thing, 1 relates to E, because 1 is right here on our E. So 1 comes off of our E line. So this is 1 at E, so that means this is our first intersection. So to make this easier, I'm going to place some points at these intersections so that we will know. So that's 1 at E. This now is 2 and D. And let's see, 3. 3 is on the C line. So 3 and C will be C here and 3. So I'm just going to place a point here. And 4 is on the B line. So where B is and 4 is, where they intersect, you place a point there. So I have placed in my 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Now there's a trick to this. Now there's a point also on our center line which will correspond to A that we are seeing right here. How are we going to get in this last point? We need to go through this elevation and then bring it down through the information line and project it back to the plan. So how is that going to work? Okay, let me show you. So we know what this is. Let's call this 0.5 for argument's sake. Let's call that 0.5 so that we will know. 0.5 is here. 0.5 for argument's sake. That's 0.5. And let's track where 0.5 is. 0.5 is on the A line. And don't forget A is on the opposite side, so we're not really seeing it. So now let's come over here, and when we project our center line and we touch the A, that means 0.5 is going to start right about here. So let me just put a point, P-O-I-N-T, spell out point, and you can place one there. And that corresponds to what's happening over here at this point of the joint. That is where our first point would be when we're looking at A. So what we can do is we can then bring this down through the information line and then project it, and we will see where it's onto our elevation, sorry, onto our plan. But before we do that, let's just put in the rest. So now we know where B is. We know B is 4. So this is the 4. So B is going to go to the top. And then there's a nice trick to this. If you are using a command and you want to reuse the command, you don't have to type it in again. You can just say enter if that was the last command that you have used. So you guys are probably seeing me reproduce these points without actually typing back in the word point. So you can just hit enter and points are right there ready for me because I've used that command before. So we have B, and that's B there. And B comes in at line at this cut at the 4th cut. So now what C? C is with 3. So C is this point there. And 2 is with D. Now we don't get D on this, you know. But actually D and C are going to share the same line when we're looking at it from this angle. So D is going to come in. 2 is going to come at that point there. I'll just place, and E, oh boy, E and B are going to be on the same line, and E is 0.1. So 0.1, and this is E. So what I need to do so is to make this just number them. I'll just number them over here so that you guys can understand what I've just done. I'm just going to transfer one number and then number them properly. So this I know is 1 for sure, and then 2 corresponds to D, right? So 2 is on the D line, so this is D here, and D and C share this line as they come up through the information line, so that means this will be 2 right here, and then you can just project from 2 across. So once you see all these things crossing each other, and not crossing each other but connecting, you kind of, it gives you a guide as to what to do next, you know, and where the dots need to be so you can create the shape. So we have 1 here, we have 2 at this point, we have 3 is right here, so we can touch this line, and at any point we can always just prove it. So if you want to know this is 3 here, we touch this line and we touch down here, and we see where 3 goes. So 3 goes down here, and 3 also intersects with C, right? So we touch C here, so we know this is C on this drawing, and then we touch 3 here, so we know that that's 3 at that point there. So I advise labeling your points so that you don't get confused, or you're able to just track your process, you know, and understand your process better. So that's 0.4, and this now again this is 0.5, right? So what are we going to do now? Well, we did all this to find 0.5 because if you recognize we didn't have a 0.5 down here on the plan. So I'm going to transfer these numbers to the plan so that everything makes sense when we're looking at it. So this is 1 here, which comes off the E line. This is 1. 2 comes off the D line. That's 2. I'll just change them now one time. 2. And then what comes off the C line? 3 comes off of the C line. So I'm just going to change that all one time before we go along. Copy. Now to continue copying this around. And 4 is on the B line. So just put in 4 there. Yep. That's 4. And then the missing link now is 5. Now 5 is the one that we need to send down through the information line. So because I want you guys to see this properly, I'm going to actually put it on a different layer, on my dimension layer just for now, while I'm going to show you how to create 0.5 on the plan. So I'm going to project my line, which is in green, down to 0.5, and 0.5 I'm going to project this down through the information line. It hits the information line here, create a 90 degree, and then we bring it right across. And because 5 was on the A line, we find back A and where 5 cuts the A line, and at that point there is where we are going to connect this whole thing. Right, so that's my 0.5 there, and I'm just going to place in 5. So it's a little trick there to it, whereas you find all 4 points, but then the 5th point you need to actually create the elevation, the side elevation, and then project that point down through the information line, turn the 90 degree corner at the information line, and then project that line back to the plan. So that's what we have done so far. Cool. So I'm just going to transfer all this back over to construction layer now. Now I'm going to use MA, which is match drop, or we can just select it right here, match properties. Just grab a construction layer, put that, so put that put everything back in my construction layer, right? Actually, I'm going to remove the construction layer that is hiding the center line. Yeah, I think that is more important. Cool. So I'm just going to bring this back to here, and I'm just going to project lines from these up to here. So I'm just going to put in the construction line for my other points, so that, you know, for educational purposes, let's say that. Okay. Alright, I'll fill it. Fill it. Cool. So what points are in? 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. Yeah. So here, up to there, connect. Cool. Fill it. Right. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to kind of trim these points that don't need to be projected through the drawing. It's not necessary. So I'm just going to bring 2 to where 2 ends, the construction lines. Just making things a little neater now. So I've shown that everything is consistent, whereas everything that has been cut on this cut line has been transferred down to my plan and then transferred over to my elevation. So now let's actually create the shape. So I'm now going to go in my outline layer, and I'm going to start drawing and connecting dot to dot. So 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, 3 goes to 4, 4 to 5, 5 back to 1. So that's the shape there. And I'm also going to transfer my Pentagon base and place it onto outline. So now, see these points that went from E all the way to O? We need to reduce them. They need to go to the cut points. 1. E goes to 1. And then this one that is moving from A all the way to O will go to 5. And B will go to 4 rather than go to O. And C will go to 3 rather than O. The reason why they're not going to O anymore is because the shape has been cut. And we're gonna do the same thing around here too, but first let me just create the shape. Start with 1, go to 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to 1. That's our shape there. Let me create my reference line here so that I always know where O is. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim. Just going to do a big trim, and I'm going to trim off points that I don't need. So I don't need that. That. Then I can delete the rest. I don't need that. Cool. So I can delete this line here, delete that, and what I'm going to do now is go over to my hidden line and place in these hidden lines because you'll be able to see them on the elevation. Cool. Okay. Just making sure things go to the points. You know. Good thing about this technology, you can get 100% precise, so utilize it. There's no reason why things shouldn't actually be going dead to the point, because this technology allows you to get precise. So now I'm convinced that these joints are finished. No, I need to transfer some lines from my construction layer over to my outline layer. So what I'm going to do is touch the ones that I want to transfer, just grab them, and then I'm just going to put them into the draw. And just grab, pull down my layer menu and place them into outline. Easy like that. So I'm going to grab everything that I want, and then just do that. Layer menu, outline, right? Right, points 4 doesn't go all the way here, it stops right there. Right. So now I think my drawing is finished. This is what I like to do. I like to hit save, Control S is what we're going to save, and then we need to give this drawing a name. So I'm just going to place it in my technical drawing folder, and I'm going to call this what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it Pentagon thing. Pentagon auxiliary, AUXILIARI auxiliary view. Right, and I have everything saved as AutoCAD 2013 DWG, and that's purposely done so that I can transfer my drawing to a 2017 version or to a 2018 version or even a 2020 version without any problems. That's for compatibility. That's why it said it was a 2013 version. Right. So before you go on to the next drawing, just turn off construction layers by hovering over the layer and clicking the light bulb, and construction layers are off, and this is what the drawing looks like. So we have created the shape in plan and the shape in elevation, and on this elevation you'll just see a cut line. So now let us then go on to my layer 0, and I'm just going to do a quick hatch just to show you what the shape looks like. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Some of these geometries aren't closed. Okay, we're getting a problem there with that hatch. Don't know why, but it's a computer. We'll get back to that hatch later on. Let's just turn back on construction layers, and let's start focusing now on creating the auxiliary projection. How are we going to create this? Let's look back at the drawing. So we have finished this down here, which is a plan. We have finished front elevation, and we have finished the now. So what I've done, I've placed the labels onto these drawings, so you can see that this is your plan, this is your front elevation, and this is your side elevation along with your true shape here. Now we're going to do one more thing with this drawing. We are just going to create the auxiliary projection from the true shape. So what we need to do to create that, you can see that the true shape consists of the cut, which is created, the truncated cut, and that's the true shape there. And now we're going to create the auxiliary projection, which is basically connecting the cut to the shape. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find the points where A, B, C, D, and E would occur on our X and Y prime line by taking these points from our plan and measuring them using the same method that we did to transfer the points 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 over to our X and Y prime line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same measuring, and this should be a lot easier. So I'm just going to go from E, so points E and B, because E and B are going to be on the same line, the distance from X and Y are going to be the same, so points E and B are actually going to be 27, 89, and again we're going to just work with the 27. We don't worry about the 89, so just up to the point 27 centimeters, that's all we need. And the distance from X and Y to A is going to be 10, so I'm just going to work with that. 10 line, and D. So we basically need points A, E and B are the same, D and C are the same, and we're going to transfer these up here. But you realize something is missing. We need our construction lines from points E, D, C, and B to touch our X and Y prime line. So what I'm going to do is just copy from what we have here already. So I'm just going to copy a point there at E, and place D there in C and B. So I've just copied one of our lines that we have already, and what I'm going to do just for this purpose, I'm actually going to put these in a different layer so that we can see. I'm going to put these into our dimension layer, and what I'm going to do is extend them, EX to extend them to our line, our X and Y prime line. So I touch the back line, which is our X and Y prime line, and now I'm going to touch the lines that I want to extend. Hit enter, and then go over them again, and they should have been extended to that point. Okay, nothing too hard there. So let's put in point A first. Point A. Oh wow, I've placed in all my points except point A, because I forgot that point A is actually at the back here, and point A lies right here in the center. So I'm going to just copy one of these lines and just copy in that. What I should probably do is also copy that there, so as we know, that's where point A is. So point A is going to measure 10 from our X and Y prime line. Let me just trim this up quickly so that we know nothing goes past the X and Y line. Offset 10 centimeters from our X and Y prime line, and this is my point A. Put a point there, P-O-I-N-T, and put in your point, and that's your point. Remove that line, and like I normally like to do, I normally like to label every point so that persons can understand what I'm doing. So that's point A, point is there, and the letter is there. So let's move now to point E and B at the same time, which are going to be 27 from the X and Y prime line, right? 27, so offset my 27 down, and I know this is my point E right here, so let's put in a point E there, and point B, which is on this side. So we're gonna place a point there and just remove that line, and just label these. So call this E, and then we call over here B. Alright, so that's A, E, and B. So I can remove these dimensions here because we no longer need these, and we just need to place in our last two points to create the pentagon, which are points C and D respectively, and the distance that we are going to be working with is 56 millimeters. So let's go here, offset 56, type in, touch that line, and we'll all see where does this come now. This comes in around here, so let's go a point there for D and a point here for C. Alright, let's remove this back line, and let me just copy. So that now is D, and that now is C. D. So what we can do is get off of this text layer and just go onto my outline layer and then just connect these now. So A will go to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, D goes to E, and E goes all the way back to A. Last thing we need to do is connect these points. Remember from our first drawing, E connects up to 1 and D to 2 and A to 5 and so forth and so forth. That's what we need to do. Connect the line E to 1, D to 2, C to 3, C to 3, and B to 4, and A goes to 5. Now I'm just going to go over to 5. I'm just going to put the line that goes C to B and our hidden there, because we're not going to see that if we actually think this out realistically, and we're not going to see the distance of 4. Yeah, that's what needs to go in here then. So at this point I'm just going to turn off my construction layer and turn off my dimensions, and you should be able to see the auxiliary projection here and the true shape. So remember, I'm just going to hatch what is the true shape. That is the true shape there. Yeah. This is our true shape that has been hatched, and then the rest, the outline, is the auxiliary projection. So the combination of the true shape connected to the shape, to the actual shape, which is a pentagon, is called the auxiliary projection. But if we are only looking for the true shape, is where the shape has been cut. That is what is referred to as a true shape. Hope you guys were able to understand that demonstration here, as I'm just going to transfer these things over to a different layer. And I don't like this solid, I'm just going to go for my favorite pattern, which is something called J wood. See it there, match that over to that. Good, remove that. That's my pattern there. And what you can do is you can just go around and hatch where all the cuts are. So I leave that up to you guys to do. And I was having some issues with this point here. I hope it resolves itself. Nope. Don't know what to do there. Well, that isn't resolving itself. I don't know why. Sometimes the computer does things, really strange things like that. But, so this is what we, let me just remove this dimension line, and this is our true shape. I'm just going to put the true shape where it belongs, which is there, and then change this now to auxiliary projection, right? So that's your AUXILIARY, auxiliary. You can use the word projection or view. I'll just go with view, auxiliary view. So that's it. I hope you guys learned something today and hope you had fun. And this is what we started off with. So what we created today is a pentagon base pyramid, and we created all 3 views, which will be the front elevation, the side elevation, the plan, and then after that we generated a true shape of the section, and then after that I added an auxiliary view so that you can see the whole thing in its totality. Alright, have fun. Thanks for watching. Take care until next time.